Welcome to this edition of Weather to Watch. It is Sunday, the 27th of April, and a huge tornado outbreak might happen from Iowa through parts of Minnesota and Wisconsin. Well, it's a Sunday afternoon, and we have interesting weather developing. First of all, let's take a look at the northeastern U.S., where we have a swirl in the clouds right there. Another big one there in the area of Utah and Nevada. And also, we have a developing weather system here in the Central Plains. Maybe not a low pressure area, but this one out here is helping this one to develop. We'll talk about that here in a second. Take a look at the 500 millibar flow. That's a pretty deep cutoff low there, sitting off the coast of Maine, New Hampshire, and New England, that area, with flow around it like this. It's clearing out the skies across parts of Ohio and Pennsylvania and Indiana. Very nice there. This is mostly just high cloudiness here, nothing going on. Then we have this deepening storm out here over Nevada that's basically causing the winds across Arizona, New Mexico, Wyoming, and Colorado to increase pretty rapidly here, and that's going to aid in the development of some pretty good severe weather episodes coming up here over the next couple of days. And to aid that, and this is the time of year where this is becoming less of an issue. A lot of times when we have severe weather possibilities, the dew point, or a measure of the absolute moisture in the air, is sometimes kind of starved. Well, in this case, this time of year when we have flow out of the south, we get that moisture from the Gulf coming up here for days and days on end. So you can see this is really making a nice return, aided by some pretty stout south to south-southeast winds across Oklahoma, Texas. You can see the cumulus clouds kind of breaking out. We'll take a zoomed in look here. So we did zoom in a little bit, and this is interesting. So the surface map has a stationary front or possibly becoming a warm front through Texas here. Let me go ahead and change my pen colors so you can actually see that. Let's go with black. There we go. So we have this stationary front in North Texas. There's another boundary right here being set up by a differential in cloud cover, which I think is interesting. We'll talk about that here. And then we have the dry line way out here in New Mexico and Colorado. All those come into play when you're talking about severe weather. The weather is very fair. A little bit of rain in central Missouri and around St. Louis, but nothing violent or severe. I don't think there's even any lightning and thunder in that. And then the high pressure area is retreating. Let's take a look at the satellite image here. And this is centered over Oklahoma, which is right here. And what you can see here are cumulus clouds breaking out. The sun came out, and then these little puffy cumulus clouds are breaking out. And if you see any bright white, not quite there yet, but there's a couple that are wanting to develop right at the nose of the moisture and heat right there. And I think that will lead to some thunderstorm development here. Now, I'll show you the outlooks in a minute, but the outlooks are really more from here on west. And I've always speculated whether this area here might have a few severe thunderstorm up its sleeve here this afternoon before the day is over. Here's a look at CAPE. This is an instability parameter that meteorologists use quite often, and you can see the maximum area right there, and then a gradient right there where it goes and drops to almost nothing in Kansas. So this entire area is kind of lifting, and you can see by the cloud cover there's this boundary right here, which I think is quite fascinating. Now out here, yeah, severe thunderstorms are probably going to pop up. There's very little cap. It's just enough to keep it suppressed for a couple of hours. A cap is just a warm layer of air that keeps thunderstorms from achieving their potential and just for their updrafts to go out of control. So that's not real high across those two areas I designated or showed you. So let's just take a look at the severe weather outlooks. So for today, there's a broad, long area of severe thunderstorms, Category 2, from Montana and North Dakota straight down through western South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, all the way down to the heart of West Texas, with a kind of a level 1 west of there. And that's just kind of a broad area of thunderstorm development. I think that some will form along the dry line here and move into the more unstable air later on tonight. I still think there's room for a couple of renegade storms along that boundary I was talking about. I may go out and chase that here literally in like 10 minutes as soon as I get done recording this. But that's, again, not the main show. Let's show you the main show. That is tomorrow, Monday, where we have a level 4 out of 5 potential for severe weather. Minneapolis, Des Moines, Iowa, almost to Madison, Wisconsin. Those areas there under a very high risk for severe weather, all modes, but tornadoes are being emphasized, and we'll show you that here in just a second. That's for Monday, and a fast-moving weather system that's not necessarily going to wait till late in the afternoon, evening to fire its storms. In fact, I think it'll happen fairly early in the day, and this area also extends all the way down to Texas, and while it does decrease, this is still a pretty significant risk here. Kansas City, almost to Wichita, that area. And then we'll take a look at the tornado outlook. A 15% probability of seeing a tornado within 25 miles exists for that exact moderate risk area. And Kansas City all the way down to Oklahoma City is in a 5% risk, which isn't anything to sneeze at either. But this is probably the most telling graph. This is where the Storm Prediction Center is thinking that there might be a probability of stronger tornadoes, EF2 through EF5, so leaving out the lowest two categories, through that same moderate risk area here with a fast-moving jet stream. So those areas are certainly under the gun for severe weather, and I'll show you that jet streak here in a minute. Now, this entire thing kind of stretches out on Tuesday. So we have a frontal boundary right here. I think there might be room, and I've already seen it in the outlook, that this area here has been kind of adjusted northward a little bit more as that boundary stalls. But severe weather is possible all along the front, all the way into upstate New York. And this hatched area is the more significant severe weather parameters, I think. But that may grow. I think that may grow into this area here by later on Tuesday, when the outlooks are more refined and they get better model data a little closer to the event. And it doesn't stop. It still goes through Wednesday. Dallas, basically the epicenter of another possibility of 15% chance of severe weather within a 25-mile area in that area on Wednesday. So the spring fun time continues. Heavy rain here is likely, I think, over the next 7 days. It's just going to kind of gradually build up with this weather system. So if you see a purple color, that's about the 2-inch area right here, and that red is 3. And there's a little area right there over north central Oklahoma that's getting to be about a 4, maybe 5-inch total of rain over the next 7 days. So just be on the lookout for that. It's a weather system that is slowing a little bit and regenerating. So the areas of showers and storms, and usually the heaviest rain, yes, the thunderstorms themselves produce it, but usually the rain that comes in behind the squall line is what really lays down this heavy rain track. And so as you saw, we have several opportunities for squall lines to come in, kind of die, and then reform the next day. So yeah, pretty heavy rains in those areas that I've indicated there. Be on the lookout for that. Thanks for watching this edition of Weather to Watch. It comes out every other day, or as the weather necessitates. Please remember to share this with your friends, subscribe to the channel, or at the very least, like what you just watched. Thanks.